Good evening and welcome. Welcome everyone to the Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting for Thursday, March 23rd, 2017. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 6, 2017. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 6, 2017. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 6, 2017.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Maurer, he said he'll be absent. Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Here.
Mayor Ritter?
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. We've got a long agenda this evening, so I appreciate everyone coming out this evening for one way or the other, for whatever you're here for. But first and foremost, we have a special recognition honoring a longtime employee, Eileen Latke, who it's always bittersweet when our employees decide to retire and leave the fine work they've done on behalf of our citizens over the many years that they've been here. And this resolution is a resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham honoring Eileen Latke for her years of faithful and dedicated service to the residents of Chatham Township. And it reads, whereas Eileen grew up in Chatham Township, attending Chatham Township schools before attending the American Academy for the Performing Arts, and is now retiring after 35 years of dedicated professional service to the township. And whereas Eileen began her employment with the township in July 1982 as a clerical assistant in the office of the tax assessor. And whereas from the outset, Eileen began to compile an extensive record of special accomplishments and earned certification as a tax assessor in 1995. And whereas in addition to performing her regular duties as the assistant tax assessor, Eileen took on the additional responsibilities and duties of certified recycling coordinator, for which she received numerous achievement awards, escrow account manager, fixed assets inventory manager, clean communities coordinator, and created and maintained the township's monthly calendar while also serving as the township's concierge, booking accommodations for all township employees and officials attending the League of Municipalities Conference. And whereas Eileen shared her vocal gifts by providing entertainment at the township's annual holiday luncheon. And whereas Eileen brought a lively and sometimes loud spirit of joy each day to the municipal offices, and her dedicated service and commitment to the highest standards of professionalism made her a vital member of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham that we hereby recognize and extend our deep appreciation to Eileen upon the occasion of her retirement for her many contributions to our community, and to extend to her and Miss Perry our best wishes for success and happiness in the future. Eileen, if you'd like to come up and... Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Now, I guess before we have our picture, does anyone want to say any additional words?
Well, Eileen was out of the office, I think, yesterday, right, for a while, and you could hear all the sounds echoing off the walls because it was so much quieter. I think I said to Greg, we're going to have music piped in through the offices to keep people awake now. But we are going to miss you. You've done a tremendous job for the town, and you seriously have been a lot of fun. You know, you and I have laughed about a lot of stuff cried about a few, but mostly more laughter than tears, and that's always a good thing. So I wish you all the best. I know that you're going to have a happy retirement, and we're going to miss you.
Why, Salvas, why did you tell me to sing the national anthem? When I started here in 1982, I was actually producing shows for dinner theater and starring in the shows that I produced for dinner theater. And so that was afternoons and evenings, and I said, I need something to do in the morning. So my mother's neighbor said, oh, they need somebody to answer phones over at the assessor's office. I said, perfect. So I started there 3 hours a day answering phones, and here I am, what is that, 35 years later, leaving the town and retiring. But I've made a lot of good friends here. I've learned a lot. We've had some rough times with some taxpayers, but other than that, it's been fun, and I really am going to miss coming here. It's great group of people. But anyway.
Explain who Miss Perry is.
Oh, Miss Perry. Okay, thank you. Miss Perry stands for the Achievement in Community Theater Awards. Perry Morgan was the founder of this organization to recognize community theater all throughout the state of New Jersey. And I became like the Vanna White of the organization. So when we do our big award show, I have my sash and my crown, and I actually hand out the awards at this at the award show. So I've been doing that for 13 years, I think. Miss Perry. So that's why they call me Miss Perry. So I think I've said enough. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. David? Okay, quick story. This is David Bozart, my boyfriend. We started in kindergarten together. We're at Southern Boulevard School.
Eileen, take the mic.
Oh, do I need a mic?
Yes, this is all for the record.
Very loud. This is my theater voice. Okay. David Bozart and I started together in kindergarten at Southern Boulevard School, and we went through the entire school system together. And of course, everybody goes their different ways. And then I guess we ran into each other at the 1994 class reunion, but he was married, I was married. And then we ran into each other again at the great reunion in 2008. I was with my boyfriend, he was married. So in October 2013, because we're both tax assessors, we ended up going to a class together, and that's when we found out I wasn't with my boyfriend and he was divorced. So it's kind of like a... It's all in the timing, okay, so... But anyway, this is David Bozart.
And it was on April 15th.
Come on up, everybody. So this is David. This is my niece, Ida. Very talented singer, songwriter. This is my sister-in-law, Dawn, talented decorator. My nephew, David, who helps train dogs. And my brother, Guy, who also went through the whole school system here, who has a renovation business. So.
Next up on our agenda is a proclamation that was on the agenda last week, or last time, but it was postponed because it was due to be read this week. This is National Poison Prevention Week. It says, whereas Congress designated the third full week in March to be National Poison Prevention Week in 1961. And since then, this week has helped raise national awareness of the dangers of potentially poisonous medicines, household chemicals, and other substances. And whereas poison centers across the country will focus the public's attention on identifying poisoning hazards at home as well as learning ways to prevent poisoning emergencies. And whereas unintentional poisoning is the leading cause of unintentional injury death in New Jersey, and whereas drug overdose deaths, including prescription pain medicine and heroin, remain in epidemic proportions for both New Jersey and the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The majority of drug overdose deaths, more than 6 out of 10, involve an opioid. Whereas poison is defined as anything that is taken in the wrong amount, in the wrong way, or by the wrong person. And whereas every poisoning is preventable, from the youngest to the oldest, all people and even pets are at risk. Whereas the New Jersey Poison Information and Education System, a division of the Department of Emergency Medicine of the New Jersey Medical School of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, provides expert advice, drug information, and poison prevention education to New Jersey residents through the 1-800-222-1222 Poison Help Hotline. And whereas consumers must be aware that the e-cigarette devices, hookah pipes, and liquid nicotine may contain a very high dose of nicotine in enticing colors, aromas, and flavors, increasing the likelihood that small children and pets will focus their attention on them. These products pose serious risks of poisoning, and whereas poison experts urge residents to use our services as a resource for poison and drug information instead of consulting the internet for information that may not be accurate. Whereas we encourage all residents to program the Poison Helpline 1-800-222-1222 into home, office, and cell phones because a rapid response can make the difference in preventing serious injury and saving lives. And whereas NJPIES, the New Jersey Poison Information and Education System, is also involved with the state's efforts in homeland defense, counterterrorism, emergency preparedness and response, biosurveillance, and surveillance for clusters of poisoning and their sources. Now, therefore, I, Kurt Ritter, Mayor of the Township of Chatham, do hereby proclaim the week of March 19th to the 25th, 2017 as National Poison Prevention Week in New Jersey, and encourage all residents to pledge their commitment to ensuring the safety of themselves, their families, and their community. Now we have a presentation from some of our representatives from the Morris County Department of Planning and Public Works. I'll let Karen make some introductions.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. A number of months ago, it was brought to our attention that Shunpike Road was going to be resurfaced from, essentially from Lewanika in the western end of Chatham Township all the way to the Lafayette Avenue intersection where it becomes Watchung. And given the chance to have some input on it, we enlisted the attention of our engineering team at the Morris County level, represented here today by Christopher Vitz and Deborah Del Giacomo. They have been very gracious to listen to our concerns in what we perceive to be our only commercial corridor, that being the Hickory Tree Shopping Center. A lot of focus in municipal planning in the last decade or so has been on greater circulation for both pedestrians, vehicles, bicycles, etc. And so with input from us and input from them, we've been able to put together a couple of options. So after a number of weeks, if not months, of hammering this all together, years, we've got Chris and Deb back to give us their, pretty much their final analysis. We are happy to be able to provide some input, and we welcome a two-way conversation. So thanks for making the trip down to the southeast corner of the county. And
you're welcome.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. As you eloquently said, you pretty much stole my thunder. So, but we're here tonight just to show you we're pretty close to going to construction at this point. The plans are at about 95%, so I just gave John a couple of copies, your town engineer, to have him be able to go through it and give any final comments. We also have an estimate prepared that we're going to give everyone a copy, and then John will have a chance to look at that also. But we just wanted it to take a few minutes, because I know your agenda is full, to go through where we're at this point. So what I'll start with is at the western end of the project, the western end of Shunpike and Green Village Road, across from, or on the frontage of the Chatham Mall. So as you know today, there's, as you come up Green Village Road, we do have that right turn slip ramp that goes onto Shunpike eastbound. What our plan has been is to remove that slip ramp to try and slow vehicles a little bit on that maneuver. They would have to come out to the traffic light and stop, and then if obviously a right turn on red would be permitted. But let me, I'm kind of jumping ahead here because that's on the striping. As far as construction, what we're looking to do is take out that island in the middle of Shunpike, and that allows us to extend a sidewalk across the frontage of the Chatham Mall where there isn't any right now, and get people from the existing sidewalk that's in front of Starbucks and the gas station, that'll be on the next sheet. So that sidewalk can continue, a pedestrian can continue down to this signalized intersection, and then there'll be crosswalks on all four corners, or all four sides of this intersection to get people from the Chatham Mall over to Hickory Tree or further down towards the ball fields and the housing that's down there. So you can see where that slip ramp was. We have a kind of a odd shaped sidewalk here to get everybody out to the actual intersection. That area that's roadway now would just become grass. We aren't looking to do anything more there. If we can go, also here, we are going to have to go back into the Chatham Mall a little bit to do curb and obviously repave their driveway because it's pretty shot right now. If you could go to the next slide, Deb. So this is a continuation on the east side of that other sheet. So this is the entrance driveway. I'm sorry, this is the entrance driveway to the Starbucks. This is the driveway for the gas station. That's right here. Again, there's no real major changes here other than the entire gray area is paving. I believe we were looking to do some sidewalk work here, but we need to look at the condition of that because, you know, Karen, as you pointed out, the sidewalk issue typically on a county road, the sidewalk is paid for by the municipality. If there's areas that don't need to be replaced, we aren't going to replace those now. There's areas that, because of the work at the other intersection where we have to extend that sidewalk to the crosswalks, the county would pay for that portion of it because it's more of a traffic safety issue rather than a pedestrian issue along the parallel strip to the roadway. So if we can go on to the signal plans, Deb. So these few plans show exactly what the striping would be once we complete all the roadway work. So again, this is where that slip ramp is today. We're coming out to true up this intersection. One of the major changes at this would be an entrance and exit at the Chatham Mall at that driveway. This actually helps out a lot with, it eliminates someone coming up Green Village Road, making the right turn, and then having to shift over 2 lanes to go into their driveway that's just off the sheet here. They'd be able to go straight into the Chatham Mall. As they come out the Chatham Mall, it'd still be signalized just like it is today, but they'd be able to make their right through or left turn movement. With the elimination of the island in the roadway, the overall width is still 44 or 45 feet, I believe we have. So what we do plan to do is have a center left turn lane that obviously at this intersection allows you to turn left into Green Village. There'd be an opposing from Shunpike into the Chatham Mall. And then it'd be 1 lane eastbound and 1 lane westbound. And then there's shoulders. There's a 6-foot wide shoulder on both sides of the roadway. And we do know that this is a large biking route. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to do that. That also separates the vehicles a little further away from the edge of the road and the sidewalk for the pedestrian. If we can just shift over on this sheet, Deb, so we can show the other driveways. Okay, so here's that entrance driveway to the Chatham Mall right now. That's the only access point, as the other driveways exit only. We are allowing that left turn in. That was something that was not shown on the other sheets, our other time that we came to present. So a left turn would still be permitted into the Chatham Mall. That allows us, again, this is that center area of the roadway that has an island in it right now. So we're going to use that space instead of having a concrete island that's absolutely useless. The Starbucks driveway, you'll still be able to make the left or right turn out of this driveway. We may have to modify the striping a little bit just so that it doesn't appear that there's no way to do that. And then obviously at the intersection, you can see the crosswalks. This is the typical type of crosswalk we do now. That there's a little bit of overkill on how many marks are across there. We wouldn't have that many ladder marks. But again, crosswalks across all four corners. It is a requirement that we accommodate pedestrians at all signalized intersections now, and we have to have those crosswalks ADA compliant. So that's one of the reasons why we're having it all four corners. And then obviously there would be the ADA ramps and detectable warning surface at each corner. If we could go to the next sheet, Deb. Okay, so at Southern and Green Village and Shunpike, we will have that left turn lane that allows you to go up Green Village. This will be a combined through and right turn lane. Eastbound, you'd have the left turn lane and a through lane. We're showing this as 2 lanes here, but I don't think that's not going to be right going out of the intersection. So, and then coming up from Southern, you'll have a left turn lane, exclusive left, a through lane, and an exclusive right turn lane. So at this intersection, there already exists, I believe all the ADA ramps are there already. We did some of that with the paving work in the past. And then we're going to do the ladder markings on the crosswalks too. It's just a newer style that we're trying to follow and implement all throughout the county. It just gives a little bit more pop. There's minimal signal work here. I think there was a timing change. That was most of the work. The other intersection's a full replacement, so it'll all be new equipment. And obviously a new signal timing from what's there today. So
I think the east side there of that intersection, those 4 lanes do exist presently.
yeah, that's what I know that they go down here, and then this becomes a left turn
That becomes a left
lane.
turn up Green Avenue.
Yep. Okay, thank you. And again, on both sides of the roadway, there's that 6-foot shoulder as you go west of the intersection. We'll obviously change the pattern there a little bit on the shoulder line. As far as costs, like I said, we just gave John an estimate tonight. So the total project cost is about $700,000. It's just over $600,000 would be the county's share, and the municipality's share. Again, we have to make some changes because of the sidewalk. Right now, we're showing it as $90,000, but it's going to go down a little bit from that. And again, we have some time to look at it. What we'd ask is before we go to construction, I would like to contact the owner of the Chatham Mall and just make sure he's okay with us doing work on his property, obviously. And then an interlocal agreement between the county and the township as far as the fair share for the work.
We've been very conscientious about trying to keep the owners of the Chatham Mall up to speed.
Yep.
I did reach out to him today to let him know that you were going to be here, but when you start your day at 3:30 in the morning,
I totally understand
kind of tough
that.
to make an evening meeting. But he has been involved in the discussions. Of course, he's about doing business.
Sure.
So he's excited about the idea of having a 2-way entrance,
Yep.
exit over on the west end, and he's really just concerned about business interruption while you're doing the project.
Of course, and on our end, we're worried about liability for him and for us, so
Right.
we need to have at least some kind of an agreement in place between
Right,
our
well, I'll make
legal
sure.
term and him.
I'll catch up with him
Just,
again.
yeah, so if I can get the contact information, because
Sure.
our legal counsel will have to contact him
Absolutely.
about it. And it's just so if the contractor's there, he's covered with insurance and all that, so. And then, like I said, the interlocal agreement, once we come to an agreement on the price, we'll enter into the interlocal agreement. The county actually would do all the work, all the construction work, and front the money, and then at the conclusion of it, we would send the final estimates to your town engineer to have him give the final okay, and then we would ask for the payment for that work. So we have a couple months' work to do yet. It's just red tape, really. And then we're looking to do this summer, to do this work this summer. Yes, that's what we'd like to do.
And what is our share for? What's the 90,000 paying for?
It's, okay, so on intersections where it's 2 county roads, the municipality pays 30%.
And who decided that?
It's a longstanding policy of Morris County. I think it was signed in 1974. I can get you a copy of it. And so Morris County would pay 70% and the municipality pays 30%. If it's 2 county, or if it's a county road and municipal street, it's usually 50-50. So that's just on the signal equipment. The sidewalk, that's a different issue. Typically sidewalk, even along a county road,
But you
is
said
paid
you're
for by
paying for that. So
municipality.
the 90,000 is just for the signals?
No, the 90,000 includes some of the sidewalk work, and we're going to have to go back and revise that. So your cost is going to come down. So I don't know by how much,
Chris,
but it
was
will
the
come down.
original talk was just to replace the signal,
Correct.
and that would have been no matter what, even if we didn't redo this whole thing? Am I
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
So the signal was going to have to be replaced anyway?
Correct.
And 60,000 would have been the burden on the township?
And yes.
Regardless?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the price just for the sidewalk, and I apologize, is $38,000. So that's why I'm saying that's going to get changed, because it's 100% on the township, and that's not right.
Right.
So we'll go back and look at that again.
Okay.
So, and obviously, again, with your town engineer's input too, we'll come to an agreement.
I would assume that on the right-hand turning lanes, just looking at this, there would be no restrictions on right on red?
No, there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
There's plenty of sight distance. There's no reason to restrict the right turn on red. After you had pulled me aside beforehand, I took another look, and because the signal timing is so out of sorts right now, the intersection doesn't work very well. Once the equipment's replaced and it's working properly, the delay, that's what we look at, is the delay for the vehicles on each approach. It's about the same as it is today. So, if you were to come up on that right turn and you slow up a little bit just for the yield, it's about the same. So, okay?
Great. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you again
All
for
right,
coming
thank
out
you.
and explaining this to us.
If I could just ask one question, can you just bring up that oddwall sidewalk that you had, that one? And then just,
On the west side.
At Green Village in the Chatham Mall on the west side. If you go to the first construction sheet, Deb. That one, yeah.
just if we could, just food for thought.
Right
If
here.
we want to get the creative juices going, it'd be nice to, if the sidewalk came up and we could have possibly some type of streetscape feature right here with the sidewalk coming down, like a clock or it's just.
So you'd rather have the sidewalk,
And that's just something.
parallel
we
to
can
the
discuss
street.
with the committee, but I just see this as a nice wide area and to come with a more conventional sidewalk coming up, and then you have a nice area where you can do a nice diamond or
Sure.
something along those lines, just a nice feature.
hickory tree.
Yeah.
So, just something that we
Yep.
can think about.
There actually is a
Hickory
hickory
tree.
tree planted there.
There's a plaque
Yeah,
there.
just a tree or
No,
something.
there's a hickory tree planted in that parking lot, right there, in that corner.
right,
I mean,
right
In the
there.
parking lot, inside the parking, yeah, there's like a hickory tree right there.
Yeah.
So we could just kind of work. I just thought it might be something to work in. It might be.
And this is the time to do that, and, so before we go to construction, we can include those items in it.
Great.
And I guess, is there any interest on late payments? I don't think Tom budgeted anything
Well,
this year for this.
to be
Don't
honest
worry
with you,
about it.
we
I've got it
have,
worked out.
we have done split payments where it's one, pay one.
Yeah, it all comes out in the wash. You guys still owe us money from the interlocal agreement we did on Snake Hill River Road, and we were a little bit late
Okay.
in submitting the payment, but you still owe us that money, so we
Okay.
can probably do a credit, or
All right.
we can work it out.
All right, we'll work that out.
Great.
That's
Thank
it.
you again.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Deb. Thanks to the team back at the county
Yep.
for allowing us the opportunity to get this done,
Sure,
right?
sure.
We see so many times government coming into our towns and our homes and everything else and telling us what to do. It's nice to be able to have some input. So
Right.
we really appreciate
You're welcome.
the idea of working with us.
You're
That's
welcome.
nice. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Moving on to reports real quick before we introduce the members of our volunteer first responders. We'll kick it off with Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick report about the Department of Public Works, if I may. It's kind of a change of the season report, really, for them. Back on Tuesday, they worked a 21-hour shift for the snow from 1 a.m. till 10 p.m. to deal with the snow, and it seemed to go smoothly. Minimum of concerns and on that. So congratulations to the entire DPW crew for handling that so smoothly. And then they changed gears, changing gears from the snow removal, both really before that snow and now since it. They've been starting the more spring-like activities. They've been putting up batting cages at Nash and Shunpike. They've been putting the dugout covers out at Nash Field. They've been laying out soccer field markings at Esternay. Defibrillators, which go out every year at the parks, they've been putting those out this week. Some preparations over at Colony Pool. And then maybe the ultimate sign of spring, they're announcing that the mulch deliveries will be available starting April 21st, and that orders can be placed starting April 17th. So people want to make a note on their calendar for that if they would. And that's all.
Great, thank you, Mike. Kevin?
Thank you, Mayor. The Historical Society next event will take place on Sunday, April 2nd at 2:30. This is a joint meeting between the Borough's Historical Society and the Township. It'll take place at the library of the Chathams, and the topic is changes in architecture of the late 19th century. The speaker is Janet Foster. I continue to encourage everyone to come to these Historical Society events. They're quite fascinating, and you always can learn a little history, Tom. So look forward to seeing you there. And I would also just like to point out, I don't know if Tom, you were going to mention it, but a longtime crossing guard at the high school, Jackie McCabe, recently passed away. I think she retired last year, and she just passed away. I know her, to see her out there in all her clothes, she was, 89 years old, always an inspiration to me, still out there working, still trying to keep the kids safe. Just another great employee of the town, dedicated to the students there at the high school, always lit up their day and bundled up, whether cold or warm, but she was out there getting the job done. So God bless her, God bless her family. Her grandson works at Colony Pool for us as a lifeguard. Her son obviously works in town, owns the Chatham Sports Shop. So a real member of the community, and I just wanted to mention her passing. Thank her for her service.
Karen?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. In keeping with our discussion on roads and paving and so on, we have an update just today from our friends at New Jersey American Water. The water main that they started on February 28th is just about complete, and now all that remains is the hookups from residential and our fire hydrants. It says here, according to Ken, we are continuing to install services moving toward Watchung/Shunpike Road, that is from the south to the north, working right now primarily around the high school, around Spring Street and Crestwood. Customers will be notified by flyer the night before they relay the service, that is switching from the old main to the new main. And again, about an hour before their water is to be shut off to their home. Disruption should last about 30 minutes only. Residents do not need to be home at the time. So the work is going forward. They'll continue to work from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. to work on Saturdays and school holidays, and all work will proceed within the required work hours. So we've had a couple of complaints from our residents along Lafayette Avenue, not many. I'm pretty impressed with the work that New Jersey American Water has done and the communication that they've maintained. And it was really damned if you do and damned if you don't. They had to do this work, so we're just pretty pleased with the way it's gone along smoothly. And as always, if anybody does have concerns about safety or accessing their driveways, please get in touch with one of us, and we will be able to relay those concerns directly to New Jersey American Water. Our senior center is asking you to save the date, April 22nd from 9 to noon. That's a Saturday. They're having their semi-annual shred event. This is right after tax time, so you can get rid of a lot of the documents that you've cleaned out from 7 years ago. That is going to be at the Chatham Borough train station. Once again, April 22nd, Saturday from 9 to noon. Some other exciting news coming out of our senior community is the kickoff for the Tri-Town 55 Plus Coalition Rides for Seniors, coordinated with Go-Go Grandparents, and that is going to be Monday, April 3rd at Drip Coffee in Madison. We are going to thank the folks who have put this together so diligently. The Rides for Seniors is very exciting. Basically, it's going to encompass everything from the Paper Mill Playhouse east of us to the Mayo Theater in Morristown and everywhere in between for $5 for our seniors. So it's really a very exciting pilot program that will be going for the next couple of months. Last but not least, I want to extend a thank you to the Chatham Township Environmental Commission and to a new member, Peter Gallagher, for a great event that they hosted in the last week, inviting our New Jersey State geologist as well as a professor of environmental science at Raritan Valley and also the director of the Raritan Headwaters Association for an open forum on the study of groundwater. It was fascinating. We took a little bit of an open look at the New Jersey DEP as well as the EPA, and the forum was very well attended. And we hope to have more of them. Our Environmental Commission is very anxious to get out and talk about the needs that the community has, or at least the questions, and they've got a great bank of resources. So thanks to Peter Gallagher and the Environmental Commission for that great presentation last week. And that's it, Your Honor.
Great, thank you, Karen. Just two quick items. The first is Colony Pool. Obviously, things are moving along well there, as John can report in a few minutes. But on top of that, the website's been updated. Registration is now open, so we encourage all residents to go to the website, thecolonypoolclub.org, to see all the great activities that are planned for the summer. The marketing campaign will begin in a couple of weeks, sending out, I suspect, a postcard to residents and the usual outreach to encourage people to take a look at this great facility we have in our township. And the other thing I just want to mention is next meeting, our first meeting in April, is National Volunteer Appreciation Month. And much like we did last year, we've sent out a note to all committees and groups and organizations in the township that we have contact information for to encourage them to come back out to get recognized, that we can show our appreciation on behalf of the committee and the residents of the township for all the fine work that these volunteers do. And today, as you know, we have three great organizations who are going to give their annual reports, our first responders who are truly the backbone of our community. So we'll hear from them in a few minutes, and I again appreciate your patience. John?
Yeah, the contractor, we had a little setback with the snow, but the contractor is progressing and likely will be ready for the next concrete pour tomorrow. The weather next week looks promising. It's in the 50s, no freezing weather in the evenings, but you are calling for some possible rain. So hopefully the weather holds out and the remaining concrete work will be completed next week. Once that's done, we'll probably let the concrete cure for about a week, and then they'll start setting up all the accessories of the diving boards and reassessing the slides and all the incidental items. And then we'll be right in line with doing the final restoration of getting topsoil down, seed mulch, just to get it ready. So I think we're in good shape.
Great. Thank you, John.
That's all.
Great. I saw the chief here, Henley. Anything to report? I know there's this phone scam going around people should be aware of. If you're not, please check out our Facebook page. There's an alert that went out by Chatham, Alert Chatham Now, so please be aware of that. Tom? Yes. There's going to be a helicopter potentially flying over Lafayette School tomorrow, is what we're told, as everyone got that alert as well, I suspect. So with that, we will now turn it over to Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department. Chief is here, as well as several other members. If you guys want to come on up, give your report.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. Give you a quick snapshot and report of basically what we did in 2016, as well as a little bit of an overview on our organization for those of you who don't really know, fully what we do. During 2016, Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department responded to a total of 312 emergency calls, which made it our busiest year in department history, even surpassing the total number of emergency calls after the natural disasters from Hurricane Irene, Sandy, and the October snowstorm a few years prior. Overall, the department showed roughly a 3% increase in our emergency calls between 2016 and 2015, with a steady increase over the last 5 years. So we're only getting busier as time goes on. The department provided mutual aid or automatic aid to our neighboring communities a total of 33 times, and mutual aid and automatic aid are programs that are utilized by fire departments across the country when additional manpower or apparatus is needed at either an incident scene or at a fire station to provide additional manpower. In 2016, we assisted Green Village Fire Department, Chatham Borough Fire Department, Madison, Morris Township, Berkeley Heights, and New Providence Fire Department. It's a regular occurrence for us to go to all these communities, and we look forward to continuing that in the future. In addition to our mutual aid responses, the department responded to 15 fire-related incidents, 4 of which were building fires. Luckily, only one of these building fires resulted in significant damage to a home. The department responded to a number of other various emergency calls. Over the past couple of years especially, we've seen an increase in responses to natural gas leaks and natural gas odors. More for the residents, something that PSE&G started a couple of years back was they changed their protocol. So now if a resident calls the gas company directly reporting that they might smell gas, the gas company is going to in turn notify the fire department right away. So whether the residents notify us or not, we're still going to be responding for them. So we've seen a significant increase in our natural gas responses, mainly because of that protocol change. Of our total emergency responses, false alarms only accounted for about 40%, which is down from 2015. So we are responding to a number of legitimate emergency calls more so than our false alarms. A quick snapshot on what our department uses as far as apparatus and support vehicles go, just for the residents and the committee members that may not know. Our fleet of apparatus is a mostly modern and very reliable fleet. Back in 2009, we actually finished out our apparatus replacement schedule that was agreed upon with the Township and Green Village. So Chief Bear and I will be looking to renew that in the coming months, in the coming year. Engine 10 was our last apparatus purchase back in 2009. It serves as our first due engine company. Has a number of capabilities and also responds as our RIC apparatus, which is a rapid intervention crew. And what that is, it's a specially trained team of firefighters who are used specifically for rescuing downed firefighters. So that's their sole purpose, and it's a number of hours of specialized training that go into that. Engine 11 is a 1988 fire engine, which I'm sure everybody's seen around town. That was actually the last piece of fire apparatus that the department bought on our own before the township started assisting us back in the 80s. Due to its shorter wheelbase, we use that to respond to motor vehicle accidents in town, just to make traffic a little bit lighter around the accident scenes, but still serve the effective purpose. Our ladder truck is a 1998 Emergency 1. It's a 100-foot straight stick, so the ladder is mounted from the back of the truck, and it's just a straight ladder. It's actually our most versatile piece because it serves as both a ladder truck and a pumper, which is why it's called a quint amongst the fire service. That has five components. Brush 13 is our oldest in-service apparatus. It's a 1973 Ford Great Eastern, and that's our brush truck. Back in 2011, we started discussions amongst ourselves and amongst the township to start the replacement process for that. So got pushed to the back burner for a while on our end, so with the new apparatus replacement schedule we'll be addressing that as well. Rescue 14 is our specialty rescue truck. It's got all of our extrication and technical rescue equipment on it. It's got a number of specialized hydraulic tools that can be used for technical rescues, for motor vehicle accidents, and anything that's really out of your normal fire department, kind of what you would imagine a fire department to respond to. We also have our incident command vehicle and our utility truck, which both serve good purposes for us. The incident command vehicle is outfitted with a number of radios, which allow us to communicate with everybody in town, as well as our surrounding communities and the county as a whole. As far as membership goes, throughout 2016, the membership contributed a total of 4,988 hours of service to the community. Of those hours, roughly 1,225 hours were spent responding to emergency calls, while the rest of the 3,763 hours were attributed to activities such as training courses, weekly drills, meetings, or other various work details throughout the year. The fire departments within the township, both us and Green Village, we train weekly, which is something that isn't really seen much anymore around the volunteer fire service in this area. So the residents can rest assured that we are training on a weekly basis, whether you see us out there or not. So you have a highly skilled group of guys coming to you if you need any help. Throughout 2016, we also welcomed 6 new probationary firefighters as well as 1 junior firefighter. The addition of these probationary firefighters marked the largest influx of new members that the department has seen in recent years, which is definitely a welcome addition to our roster. Of those new probationary firefighters, 4 of them came to us with previous firefighting experience and training, so they could immediately begin acting as interior firefighters. And the remaining 2 began their Firefighter 1 training back in January, where they're receiving over 150 hours of training on basic firefighting skills. We also had 1 associate member join, and associate membership is something that a lot of members in the community might not be aware that we have. Associate membership it's available to people who really don't want to be firefighters, but they still want to help and contribute to the fire department. So basically, they help in more administrative and behind-the-scenes roles, public relations functions, or what have you. So even if you're not looking to go running into burning buildings, there's still a number of places that we can use the help. Unfortunately, we did take 3 resignations from members whose professional and personal careers took them out of the area and just made it impossible for them to continue with us. Probably our biggest accomplishment of 2016 was the acquisition of our new Scott X3 air packs. The state-of-the-art SCBAs replaced our aged fleet of SCBAs, which were well over 20 years old and far under the current standards and best practices for the fire service. With the support of the Township Committee and Administrator Chickarone, the department was able to take delivery of 30 SCBAs back in July, and each SCBA came equipped with some state-of-the-art technology such as snap connections for our cylinders, which allowed for a decreased cylinder change time while on scene, as well as a buddy breather system that acts as a self-rescue device for each firefighter in case there's a malfunction with their SCBA while they're inside of a fire. So what this does is it allows the firefighter in distress to quickly connect to his partner's SCBA and replenish his air supply so that they can safely and quickly evacuate the area. It actually placed us on the forefront of fire departments across the country. The NFPA, which is the organization that pretty much oversees fire departments throughout the country, projected to be this year, they're going to be mandating an industry standard buddy breather system, so we're actually ahead of the curve on that, which is a good thing for us. We were also able to convert to a personal issue face piece, where in the past, the actual face pieces for the SCBAs were communal, so they stayed with the air pack, and we just cleaned them after each use. So going to personal issue, it's a much more hygienic way of maintaining our equipment. Just an interesting kind of fact that the SCBAs, less than 24 hours after we put them in service, we put them to their first test responding to a structure fire. So we put them in service at the right time. They were definitely put to good use right off the bat. Just as far as some good goals that we're looking to accomplish this year, one that's already in process is the development of a special operations group within the department. We're in the process of training our firefighters in specialized rescue, ice rescue, water rescue, and we're expanding our rapid intervention training, especially after the hurricanes and just some of the flooding that we saw. Really, we kept getting called out for residents that might have driven into a flooded roadway and needed to be rescued. We didn't really have the training for that in the past, so what we've done now is we've planned our training, we've purchased the necessary equipment, so we're getting all of our firefighters trained at that higher level so we can be prepared for if those situations occur in the future. And the Neptune pump system is it was a federal fire truck piece that was basically housed by us for over the last 12 years. That's actually this year being relocated, the entire system, down to Bayonne, down to the more industrial area. So that transition is happening now. It should be complete within the next couple weeks to a month. So I'd really just like to take the time and thank my members for all the time that they dedicated throughout 2016. A lot of guys went well above and beyond the call of duty. They attended basic and advanced training courses that not only created a safer department, but a safer community. And as always, thank you to Township Committee and Administrator Chiccarone for all your support. We look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Thank you, Chief. I just had a couple of questions. One, again, I'll say this to each of you guys when you come up here and speak. Thank you for your service to the community. People, one of the reasons we wanted you here tonight is help people understand, being a firefighter or serving in the EMS, it's not something you take lightly. The hours that you spend away from your families and friends, holidays, and you're on call 24/7, and you're, I said, the backbone of our community. So I, again, appreciate it, and I can't say it enough how grateful I am personally, but, I think on behalf of all residents, we are grateful for you. The question I had was the challenges you face in terms of, be it fundraising, I'll ask each of the groups, fundraising or even just membership recruitment. How much of a challenge is that for you guys, and what can we as a committee or as just residents in general, as a community, do to support you guys in those efforts?
Both things that you mentioned are important. Whether it's fundraising or just getting involved. Without having the members to respond out, that's our whole purpose kind of gets handcuffed a little bit. So I'd say that the biggest thing that we can push to anyone is get involved. Whether it's coming down, joining as a firefighter, joining as an associate member, like I mentioned. There's a place for everybody. So we encourage the residents to come down, get involved. We'll find something for you to get involved with, even if you don't want to be a firefighter. But there's definitely a place for everybody. The volunteer fire service as a whole across the country is hurting. Just the whole demographic of how things are. People can't afford to live and work in the same town anymore. So it's just a challenge that the whole volunteer fire service is facing. Fundraising is always a very big thing. We were very fortunate to have the residents of our community and surrounding communities come out for our Christmas tree sale. It was one of our most successful Christmas tree sales to date, and that's our largest fundraiser. So, whether it's donating or just getting involved, it's really just, we can't really push that enough.
Chief, thank you very much for the presentation. I was kind of taken aback by the number of false alarms that you mentioned in your report. Is that mischief, or is it just people who thought their house was on fire? What do you describe a false alarm as? Obviously, we were all raised to understand the danger of bringing a fire crew out to a non-fire, because that leaves you open to not being able to respond to a real fire. But what are the ideas of the false alarms, and are they mischief, or are they?
They're not necessarily mischief. There were a couple intentional, like pull station activation, like the fire alarms that you pull down out in the schools. Like a couple times, kids would pull them, so that's more malicious. But most of them, it's just there's a lot of alarm systems in the township that are automatically tied into the central station. So as soon as that smoke detector goes off, we're responding out. So a false alarm is really just when the smoke detector went off and there was no fire. Maybe it was just smoke from cooking, or a homeowner might have been changing the batteries in the detector and forgot to tell the alarm company. So it's anything that's it's not necessarily something that's malicious or mischievous. It's just something that's not, not a real fire. But, it's still something that we're here for. So, middle of the night, middle of the day, it's
I
just part of it.
forget the proliferation of so many home alarm systems. I guess that has a lot to do with it. The other thing, and I'll mention it also with Chief Bear, the attention that you're paying to firefighters in distress themselves. When you guys are going into a fire, when you're weighed down by 100 pounds of gear, when you're climbing up these stairs, the idea of fitness among the members of our volunteer services is something very important to me, and it's something that we've kind of talked about, and I'd like to pursue it. Obviously, training to take care of a firefighter who's having a heart attack while he's fighting a fire is critical, but maybe laying the groundwork for more healthy opportunities for exercise or while you're training.
Yep, no, absolutely. We actually did kind of an overhaul on our in-house gym that we have at the firehouse. There's probably no less than a dozen guys on a daily basis that are down there using it. So the guys are training and preparing themselves for it. The number one cause of death among firefighters is heart attack and cardiac issues. So making sure that we're physically fit is really on the forefront of our mind. Depending on if you follow our Facebook or not, last week we actually did a training evolution
And
on
that brings to mind what
firefighter
we're
down
talking
CPR.
about.
Yeah, so we basically went through a training evolution on how our own firefighters can perform effective CPR on a firefighter when he's in full turnout gear. So.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Thanks.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Chief, I was struck by the fact that this was the largest number of calls this year ever.
Yes.
And you went on to explain that part of it was the gas odor that they've changed their policy. Were there other aspects of that report that contributed to that larger number, or do you think that by itself pretty much pushed you over the previous years?
We've seen a steady increase in the gas odors over the last couple of years. I mean, even if it's just a contractor hitting a gas line, I know we had it happen during the American Water project that's going on now in Lafayette, but it's kind of just luck of the draw. We've had smoke conditions. We're responding more and more with the emergency squad to assist them in motor vehicle accidents. Anytime that somebody gets hurt in a motor vehicle accident in Chatham, we're responding automatically with the emergency squad. That's ever since we went to the county dispatch a few years back. So it's kind of spread out across the board, but the one that really pops out is our natural gas responses that have gone up. That carbon monoxide. And carbon monoxide alarms, they've kind of increased over the last couple of years just because people are, finally being more educated on the dangers of carbon monoxide. They're going out there getting their CO detectors, and now that they got them, now they're starting to reach their lifespan, which is 5 to 7 years. So they start going off, and
Okay.
we kind of see an increase.
And thanks for the huge contribution that all your department does. It's a great asset to the town.
No problem.
Chief, just thank you very much. We say it over and over again, and still I think some people in town don't realize it, but it's an all-volunteer fire department. It's an all-volunteer EMS. It's an all-volunteer Green Village Fire Department. It just can't be said enough. Obviously, we support you with equipment requests, but the fundraising efforts that you do, and I guess you're in the middle of a direct mail fundraising effort right now. I know sometimes things get lost in the mail, but really, from that perspective, what you do and the service you provide to the community, essentially, I don't want to say for free, but for free in the sense that the time and effort you put in and the service you provide is tremendous. So once again, I really can't emphasize that enough, that our towns realize it's all volunteer, and it only happens with the support of the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, Chief Bear from Green Village.
Good evening. Matthew Bear, Green Village Fire, third generation firefighter at the Green Village Fire Department, currently serving my third one-year term as the chief there. Currently I'm supported underneath me by 4 other officers and about 30 active firefighters some of which are qualified interior, exterior pump operators. I'd like to start first by just giving an overview of what apparatus we operate, starting, of course, with a large thank you to the residents and the Township Committee, Tom Chicarone, Administrator, for the addition of our brand-new 2016 Suffin 75-foot Quint. It's become a huge piece of apparatus, huge asset to the department. We got it in February of 2016, and by June, it was operating as our primary piece of equipment out the door for anything structural. So it's handled at least half of the calls that I'm going to discuss in my report. That's complemented by our 2006 Pierce engine and our 2000 Rescue, as well as a 2004 mini pumper. And as of right now, we still have the backup engine, I'll call it engine 2, that was replaced. We're in the process of attempting to sell that apparatus, but in the meantime, we use it as a backup for any apparatus that goes out of service. In 2016, Green Village Fire responded to 180 calls, including 10 brush fires, 5 electrical or appliance fires, 94 false alarms, 12 hazardous conditions, 15 motor vehicle accidents, 1 grill fire, 1 garbage fire, 5 calls for service, 3 weather-related calls, 16 smoke conditions, 10 station coverages, and 8 structure fires. Those smoke conditions, station coverages, and structure fires are not just within the bounds of Green Village. We went out to, obviously, the other side of town, Chatham Township, helped out Chief Golich when we needed to, as well as Chatham Borough, Morris Township, and Madison primarily, as well as Harding. We had a very large fire in the beginning of the year in Harding last year. As Chief Golich mentioned, we bolt horns drill weekly. Green Village Fire had 42 drills the entire year. Those are both weekly and special drills on top of our monthly business meeting that made up the remainder of the part for the weeks. We send multiple firefighters to training at the Academy, Morris County Public Safety Training Academy, as well as in-house hosting annual required refreshers for HAZCOM, bloodborne pathogens. Total training hours, 1,518 minutes for all the members. Between public relations and fundraisers, we had 64 events. That includes our charity shoots, parades, scholarship presentations, memorials, and funeral services, as well as our flea market, golf outing, shredding, and work details for all those events. Total man hours in the area of 1,700 hours. Between myself and the other members, we also attended administratively meetings, mutual aid fire chiefs, county fire chiefs, and the meetings within the building, just under 1,600 hours of service there. We had a pretty calm 2016, minus the acquisition of the new piece of apparatus.
Thank you, Chief. And again, I just pose a question to you as it relates to membership recruitment and fundraising, and what the committee or the township in general, residents can do to support you guys in your efforts.
Yeah, we had a very strong 2015 where we took on 12, which was our highest in a single year. 16, we did not see any come through, so that obviously averages out. Plus a couple people don't stick around when they start going through 200 hours of initial training and whatnot. But I think the biggest thing is, fundraising. I'll combine your questions, but fundraising is key. We do a lot of it. The residents are great in that sense. But man hours, like those free man hours that you're not going to get paid for, but contributing around the building count just as much, if not more. We have work details, and we have 10 guys show up, but if it was 12, we could get it done in a little less time. So I think even just coming out, like Chief Golich said, you don't have to be the guy that runs into the building or the guy that's telling people to do it. You can come out, and the volunteer fire departments need treasurers and presidents. So anybody with any kind of background can come out and help us out in any way possible, that'd be great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Great job.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks, Chief. Next up, we have our emergency squad.
Good evening, Mayor and committee and administrators. It's good to see you. I'm Rich Crater. I'm president of the emergency squad. My colleague to my left is Joe Korkich. He's the captain. Other organizations would call him chief, but for 80 years we've used the term captain. So we're going to tag team this report, and we'll try to be as brief as possible, given the fact you've got an agenda and you don't want to be here till midnight. Emergency Squad is a nonprofit 501c3 corporation that was founded in 1936, so we've been around a while. We provide basic life support, pre-hospital emergency medical services to the Chathams, the Township, and the borough. We utilize 3 ambulances. They're Hortons, they're Type 3 ambulances, excellent equipment. And we have 2 stations, 45 Spring Street here in the Township and 31 North Passaic in the borough. You've seen our report. We have a mission. There are 6 elements to it. And it essentially, again, is to provide emergency medical life support and ambulance transportation to the residents, businesses, visitors of both the township and the borough. We do provide some transport services on a non-emergency basis. Person has to go to a hospital or some medical facility. We'll do that if we have available manpower. We also render assistance to residents who might find it difficult getting from the home to a car to a doctor's appointment. We respond to that. We move people from point A to point B to point C. We just had one last week. Elderly man had an appointment at the Cornell Wild Medical Center in New York City. He couldn't get out of his house. His son-in-law was going to transport him into the city. We helped with that. You also see us at football games, community events, runs. We're out there. We also help in the case of emergency management and disaster responses, and we provide mutual aid to neighboring towns. We help each other. The squad is a private, self-governed corporation that's unaffiliated. That model's a little different than the other emergency medical services, and it's been that way for many years. We are a member of the EMS Council of New Jersey, and we provide support to all the emergency services in both the township and the borough, police department, fire departments, etc. We also provide supplies to police and fire, oxygen, masks, gloves, and other medical supplies. When the defibrillators are used by the police, we download them on our computer equipment. Qualifications and training. Our membership is very strong. We have a lot of members. We're in great shape. And that just didn't happen. We recruit all the time. Our doors are wide open. We'd love to talk to folks in the community. They might wonder, can I do this? What's this all about? Give us a call. We'd welcome you into our facility, and we can talk about it. Once you become a member, you're a probationary member. You'll go to a state-certified school for over 200 hours. Quite an undertaking for a volunteer. Years ago, it was 50 hours. Now it's 200 plus. So you have to, frankly, admire people who are willing to do that, in my opinion. They complete the program, pass the test, now they're certified. Well, their training continues with us. They're still probationary. We have an extensive training program. They have to understand our protocols, our operational procedures, and they have to go on calls. They're evaluated. And once we believe that they're ready, the captain here will make them active. They're fully active, certified members of the emergency squad. And then after they do all that, every 3 years, you have to recertify. And that's time-consuming. So that's what it takes to join our organization. We had some highlights during the year. We have 2 new Stryker power cots. These are stretchers that are in the ambulances. This has helped us immeasurably in moving patients from home to the rig to the hospital. It's also saved some of us some backaches. And when we had to have really dead lifts, pick up a stretcher and put it in the emergency squad vehicle, now you hit a button and it goes up, and you push it in, and it's wonderful. They're also $50,000 a piece, and we have 3 of them. So we have a brand new rig 87. It's a Horton. It cost $190,000. And we raised 95% of the money for that, incidentally. So, and we'll talk about your contribution, which is excellent, and we really appreciate it. But one other thing about membership and telling our story, we want to thank the mayor and the committee for Chatham Township Perspectives. A video was produced about a year ago, and the renowned Hollywood producer and director Tom Salvis really helped us with that. He did a terrific job. Where is he? There he is.
The wizard.
There he is, behind the camera. And go to the website. It's there. Please look at it. If you're wondering if you want to join the squad or not, what's this all about? It's full of information, and a wonderful job. What else do we do? We provide CPR courses. We really got into this in a very big way. Over 1,000 people in both communities have been trained on CPR, from the police department to firefighters to Department of Public Works, school employees, teachers, guards, you name it. We had a good recruiting year. We brought on 9 new active members and 5 cadets. We were very happy with that. And what else? We also made a special commitment to being prepared through our training and our supplies for mass casualty incidents. We all know what's going on in this world, whether it's Brussels, Paris, London, cities in the United States where a large group of people are being injured. We need to be able to respond to that, and we feel very confident that we can do that. We've bolstered our equipment and our training. We drill on this, and we have another drill scheduled next month. How to respond to when 10, 20, 30 people are injured. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Joe Korkich. This guy's terrific. He spent his formative years, I think, in the borough, graduated from the local high school. Then later on, moved out to Clinton Township, where he joined the first aid squad and became its chief, its captain. And I don't know how many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, he moved back to Chatham and joined the Chatham Emergency Squad, and has been a lieutenant. He served in a number of different roles, and he is our captain. So I'm very pleased to introduce him, and he'll take you through operations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. It's true, I am an Esky. For those of you who have lived here a long time, you'll know what that is. Just to talk a little bit about Rich's comments about mass casualty incidents, it is true that we are concentrating quite a bit of resources on developing our expertise in that area. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to, it was a Friday afternoon, I was talking to one of our new members about the type of work we do here, and he asked me what type of calls we go on, and I talked about, our assisted living facilities in town, nursing homes, the respiratory distress calls, but I also emphasized to him the types of transportation systems we have in town. We have trains, we have buses going through, we're in the flight paths of 2 airports. And that night I'm sitting at home and my pager goes off and tells me about a helicopter crash in town. The timing couldn't have been better. As you know, in the borough, we did have a two-person helicopter go down. We responded to that call. We were very fortunate. The people on the plane or on the helicopter were very fortunate not to have been more injured than they were. But that kind of thing is possible here at any time. In 2016, we responded to 1,088 calls, both in the borough and the township. The township accounted for 620 of those calls. We were 451 in the borough. And then 17 calls were out of towns, out of the Chathams, in mutual aid for other communities, whether it be Summit, Florham Park, Madison. Those are the communities we respond to most often for mutual aid. As I mentioned, we do have some assisted living type facilities in town. We had 64 dispatches to Juniper Village, 50 to Chatham Hills, and 5 to Garden Terrace Nursing Home in the borough. Both of those numbers are slightly lower than they were the year before, about 8% lower, but they were very close to the numbers we had in 2014. We hover around 1,100 calls a year typically. As Rich mentioned, we also provide members or crews to football games and other community events in town. We take a great deal of pride in being able to do that. We also have a bicycle team that, if you have a 5K and the size of it warrants, we will provide a bike team. Each member of the bike team rides a specialized bicycle that's equipped with medical supplies so that they can get to a victim of whatever, whether it be a trauma or medical emergency during the race, quickly before our ambulance might be able to get to that person. We are a volunteer organization. As I think Rich mentioned, we're all volunteer. We always have been. We have a robust group of people. Part of Rich's job is to run a small business because that's really what we are. We are a small business with 83 employees. That's one way you have to look at it. We have the challenges of a small business as well. We're divided up into administrative and operation sides, but we work together very closely in a board of trustees to govern the organization. Our report has our hierarchy, if you want to call it that, our organizational chart on it, and you're welcome to look at that. If you have any questions, please let us know. In the interest of time, I'll skip over that a little bit. Rich is going to chat a little bit about community activities, some of the things we do outside of our normal everyday mission.
Yeah, just quickly, we sponsor blood drives every year. Actually, we have 4. And the deputy mayor participated in the last one. Thank you very much. And we celebrated our 1,000th pint of blood last weekend, so we were very, very proud of that. And we also have a snow village downtown in the borough, a train set. If you've seen it, it's unbelievable. And a lot of the scouts come through and other community organizations, and they get a big kick out of that. And I also wanted to mention we have a cadet program. We have 12 students who reside in the borough and the township. The majority of them go to the Chatham High School, but there are a couple of students who go to private school, juniors and seniors. They go through the E&P program. They do everything that anyone else would do. They're terrific. They're our future. And they tend to come back once they're in college. Most of them do, and ride with us when they're on break or during the summer. Did you want to talk more about membership?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. As Rich said, we're very fortunate to have a full membership, but we are always recruiting because we do have people who move out of town, who retire from service, for whatever reason, have to leave us. We are a bit of an anomaly these days in EMS, for volunteer EMS. If you're familiar with our system here in New Jersey, we provide basic life support services. Advanced life support services are provided by paramedic units that come out of our area hospitals. They bill for their services, we do not. Sometimes I have to explain that to patients when they get a bill and call us, and I tell them it's not from us, it's from Atlantic Health. I also get the question often, are you on the Township squad or the Borough squad? And then I have to explain that we are one. But we have quite a strong membership. We have 48 full-time members at this point, 12 cadets who are in high school, as Rich mentioned. They serve 3-hour shifts. Our regular 48 members, each of them are assigned a 12-hour shift during the week, and that's daytime or nighttime. We run 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then we rotate our weekends so that not everybody has to, or no one crew has to work both Saturday and Sunday days. We have a number of people who are auxiliary members, much as the fire department does, who do our data collection and some of the other non-EMT type business that's required of a small business. And then we have one physician member who is our medical director and basically allows us or gives us the authority to do the things we do here in New Jersey. As I started to say, we are in an anomaly. Many squads, volunteer squads, are having a hard time getting members. A lot of them are going to paid members during the work week daytime. And to do that, some of them are billing for their services. It's part of our mission never to have to do that. And we don't foresee, at this point in time, certainly, any need for us to start billing for our services or hiring per diem paid EMTs. And we're very proud of that, frankly. Let's see. I guess the last thing I would say about membership is not only do we have an adequate, at least at this time, number of members, but our members are very dedicated. We have, as I said, we have a duty crew that's assigned to our first out ambulance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every week of the year. There are times when we have a second call when that crew is out. We almost never fail to be able to get out that second ambulance. And generally speaking, sometimes when there's 3 simultaneous calls, we can get 3 ambulances out at the same time. The only time that I can remember, or one of the few times I can remember us requiring mutual aid from another community is when we run out of ambulances. We don't run out of members, but we run out of ambulances. And that's rare, but occasionally it happens. Again, to get 3 ambulances out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday is an achievement that we're very proud of. Rich?
Our membership is strong because we have a spirit of volunteerism in the township and in the borough. People care. You have various committees and boards that are staffed by volunteers. You see it, and we see it on the emergency squad. And we're different. Chatham Township and Chatham Borough are different in a very positive way. People truly care. And, you know, our slogan is neighbors helping neighbors, and we do. And it's as simple as that. Now, finances. Finances, we're in good shape. We fundraise. We typically send out a mailing and then a reminder. Our budget this year is $260,000. You're going to help us with $15,000, and the borough will help us with $15,000. So take 30 off of that. We have to raise $230,000. Right now, I'm at $117,000, and we're in the 6th week of the campaign. Last year, we had about 2,400 contributors. We sent our letter to 8,300 addresses. So people in marketing will say, boy, that's great. You know, you got a 30%. I don't think that's very good, quite frankly. I can't imagine not giving to an emergency squad that's all volunteer, and we rely on contributions to run our organization. And of course, people are being asked to contribute to many, many, many things. But after all, like fire, like police, we're 911. I don't think it gets any more important than that. So a plug for the fund drive. If you haven't contributed, please contribute. We really need it. You also help us with our LOSAP, our length of service program. Thank you very much. We had 30 people qualify this year, and that was another 26,000 that you split between the borough and the township. You help us with fuel, insurance. You take care of our driveway. You do a lot of things for us, and appreciate that very much. So we also want to thank businesses. We want to thank community-based organizations. We have scouts who give us money, and they're really cute about it, where they send over cupcakes. It's fine. We have faith-based organizations in the town that most of whom contribute. So it all, as they say, it all adds up, and it's fundraising time. So I think that's basically it for me. You have anything else?
Just the excuse me, the last comment I would make is that Rich mentioned fire and police. We work hand in hand with all the emergency services in both communities, and Rich talked about my experience in other places, other counties, other communities. I've never seen as good a sense of cooperation as I've seen working here in Chatham with the police department, with both fire departments in the township, the borough fire department as well. We work very, very well together, and to the benefit, I think, of all the communities. You can look at our future plans for 2017 in our report. There's nothing there that is mind-boggling. I mean, we are evaluating one medical piece of equipment right now, a mechanical CPR device. These are basically a pump that provides compressions without a person having to do it. Unfortunately, each one of these devices is $15,000, so we're trying to determine how often we would actually use it. Change in procedures by our paramedic units would indicate it might make sense for us because they're spending more time on scene with a victim of cardiac arrest. So we may be there for half an hour trying to do CPR. But that's something we're in the process of evaluating now. And I think that's it. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have for us.
No, I think it's a very thorough report, and I thank you again for your efforts. And I just remind those here in the audience, those watching at home, and the press as well, I can remind folks that our new website, we actually have a donate button on the homepage. And if you click on donate, you'll see the websites for each of these first responders, where you can click on there and do a trifecta and donate to each one of them. So I encourage everyone to go home tonight and make a donation. As you said, you guys are, we can't say it enough. As Kevin said, Karen said, Mike has said, you guys are the backbone. And we owe deep gratitude and gratefulness for all that you do for our community. So I thank you personally and on behalf of the committee. And
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know, we've talked about it before. And the cost associated with calling 911 and having an ambulance arrive on the scene as opposed to the Chatham EMS and handling that call, the differential, what that would be is monumental. So again, just thank you guys. Reiterate Kurt's words. Thank you.
We appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
We actually are aware of surrounding communities that can't get their volunteer EMS up and running during the week, and they actually have to contract out to private emergency services during the week because they don't have nearly the robust volunteer corps to draw from. Personally speaking, I'll just a couple of notes regarding donating blood. I got a text message from the New Jersey Blood Services this week that said, Karen, your pint of blood is now helping a patient in the Hackettstown Hospital or something like that.
Wow.
And I thought, that is really cool to think that what you've done really does go forward and help somebody. One time I needed your services, and who's in the back of the rig but a girl from the Key Club who's like, hi, Mrs. Swartz, and I'm part of the cadet program. So it's so great to see all walks of life from our great community get it in there and really helping neighbors.
Exactly.
Joe, I remember your dad very fondly. from years gone by. We used to bowl together.
Oh, I see.
And we miss him, but it's great to see you back in town.
Thank
and
you.
we'll always keep him in our heart.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
If I may, Mayor, at the risk of this starting to sound like a PBS telethon, I'd like, since we're doing our public hearing on our budget tonight, to give folks just a real general idea of how much you guys, all three volunteer agencies, save us. You know, we presently contribute in our budget about $3 million for police and the contributions that we make to you directly to help with your operations. I did a little bit of, quick back of the envelope kind of calculation, and I think that $3 million would likely be doubled, if we had to have paid fire and paid EMS. That's about 10 cents on our tax rate. So to help people really understand how much they're actually saving, maybe help them, get out the checkbook and add a little bit more to it to understand that it's an investment, because if you guys fail, we're going to wind up with paid people to perform these services, and then it's going to cost a lot more. So.
Thank you.
Well said. Thank you very much.
We are now, Chief, you're back. I don't know if you have anything you want to talk about, scam or anything else, or you're good? All right. Well, now we're going to open this up to a hearing of citizens. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard on issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Jane Devlin, and I live in the township.
Your address?
Hickory Place. Let me begin by saying I'm very thankful to live in Chatham, would even consider myself blessed. I always say a bad day in Chatham is better than a good day near anywhere else. There are so many good things to say about the Chathams, and I wouldn't want inference otherwise to be made about my opinions of the Chathams, including the township, which I am here to speak about tonight. That said, and not disrespectfully, though incredulously, I ask, what is the purpose and necessity of having a Pride in Chatham proclamation, which Mayor Ritter signed into effect on March 9th? To me, civic pride is more about duties and responsibilities we as town citizens have, and what action we take to carry out those duties. Civic pride is a value that should be passed down to youth. It has less to do with our tax rates, our pool clubs, hiking and biking trails, if we are the envy of many municipalities for family fun, or our property values. Proclaiming bombastic pride in these attributes, unless perhaps you are in the business of real estate sales, borders on highfalutin. Community pride, arguably, even has nothing to do with neighbor reaching out to neighbor, helping, because that should just be a basic function of a civil community and not an attribute so outstanding that it warrants a pride proclamation. Much of what is in this proclamation seems to reflect the good fortune, bounty, and blessings which come with the demographics of this zip code. The advantages of these demographics are apparent and may be why folks take residency here, and again are marketing tools for realtors, but they do not, in my opinion, rise to the level of proclamation. Deserving laudatory are less privileged towns who, despite fewer resources, have volunteers, get crime down, welcome immigrants, or even are welcoming of affordable housing. Proclamations, by very definition, are public affirmations of great importance. They should be reserved for noteworthy changes, improvements, or an act of greater good, which may have shaped lives or influenced for the better a community or group. Two excellent examples which come to mind are initiatives spearheaded by Mayor Ritter: stigma-free community and domestic violence awareness. There are probably proclamations relating to scouts, students, veterans, Kiwanis, Jaycees, and others, including first responders, that deserve support. But a proclamation for proclamation's sake falls flat. I realize a number of towns, including nearby ones of Montclair, Madison, and our closest kin, Chatham Borough, have passed welcoming resolutions. A resolution is a public statement, its strength gained from the collective decision to take some action, do something. One is respecting a right, not condoning discrimination, protecting civil liberties, protecting liberties of civil discourse, rejecting intolerance. These actions, if not more powerful, are at least more relevant considering today's climate nationally and locally than merely declaring, almost postscript, people of varied backgrounds live here and we welcome all, which is what the township stated. Consider the contrast. One is passive, tepid, perfunctory. The other is active, involved, clear. The Take Pride in Chatham Township is not a welcoming resolution or even a welcoming proclamation. It aggrandizes. I proposed it should be replaced or, at minimum, take a back seat to a more proper, welcoming, inclusive resolution, one which this town could really carry out with pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Hi, good evening. My name is Craig Alperowitz. I live on Shunpike Road, 313 Shunpike. I'm the house directly across the street from Cougar Field. I just wanted to come here tonight to kind of alert you guys to probably something nobody knows about, because you wouldn't know unless you lived in my house or my next door neighbor's house. But particularly in the spring and the fall, as students are making their way from the high school to Cougar Field, a lot of them will go all the way to Pine Street and cross where there's a crosswalk. But let's be real, you know, the shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight line, and they cut through the woods all the time, and they cross dangerously Shunpike Road, where there's no crosswalk. I see it all the time. I work from home. You know, kids are going to be kids, and I don't think a sidewalk is going to fix that at all. But it's a 35-mile-an-hour speed zone. And I would also say that even crossing in the crosswalk at a 35-mile-an-hour speed zone at that time of day can be kind of dangerous. So I'm just asking as a suggestion that maybe we deem a portion of that land to be a school zone because it's school property, and consider lowering the speed zone perhaps during the hours. And it's really the afternoon hours. It's mostly athletic kids. But you see it all day, you know, to and from the field, and it just tends to be pretty dangerous. So I'd like to consider that as a solution, and also perhaps, I don't know, maybe I'll talk to the athletic directors about urging the kids to continue all the way to Pine, but it's probably not going to happen, you know. So I would just suggest that to at least slow the traffic down. I know the police are always there. You know, it's a speed trap area. I see it all the time too. So cars are probably going even faster than 35 most of the time. So it might be a wise consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Hi, I'm Kelly Doucette, Rolling Hill Drive in Chatham Township. I just want to follow up on my letter about the need for a welcoming resolution that both strongly denounces discrimination and hate and is developed through a collaborative and open process. Those of you who responded to my letter were very quick to assure me of your commitment to inclusion and diversity. That's wonderful, and it's a sentiment that I know is strong and genuine throughout Chatham Township. But assuring me of this in a private email exchange is not enough. Assuring me that you live this sentiment in your private lives is not enough. Despite what many of you indicated to me, your public words on this topic actually do matter, and they are needed to counteract the divisiveness we see in our community right now. In taking for granted that we do not need to be firm and loud about denouncing hate and discrimination and by staying quiet, we allow false information of all kinds to fill the void of public conversation. And really, choosing not to speak is itself an action. The handling of this welcoming resolution proposal is the perfect example. I was actually not that engaged in the process of requesting the resolution until your refusal to do so spoke volumes to me as a minority. The act of not going the extra step of working with a diverse group in our community on a strongly worded resolution is unacceptable. And the irony of a welcoming sentiment being proclaimed by a single person representing one demographic of our town only amplified that feeling for me. But the most important reason for this resolution is the damaging misperceptions about Chatham from outside our community that together we must challenge. On a flight to Denver this past December, my seatmate questioned me on why, as an Indian American, I would have ever chosen to live in Chatham, which he described as being 20 years behind. At a school interview for my children, my interviewer looked at me and joked, "I thought everyone from Chatham was blonde." And there are countless times when I've had comments from people that say, "Really? You live in Chatham?" I can and I do use my words in these situations to defend my town and my neighbors who are wonderful and welcoming and I know do not reflect these sentiments. But I need you now to use both your words and your power to act as well. With the right leadership, opening a discussion with a diverse group of constituents on a welcoming resolution that not only welcomes but denounces discrimination and hate in no uncertain terms should actually be a positive and unifying exercise. I would be happy to work with you on this resolution as well as any other incentives to celebrate the diversity of Chatham. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Hi, I'm Jessica Romeo on Pine Street, 49 Pine Street. So at the March 9th, 2017 Township Committee meeting, a group of residents attended with the intent to engage the Township Committee in a conversation about creating a welcoming resolution. Mayor Ritter read and unannounced, "Take Pride in Chatham Township" proclamation. Instead of having an interactive and productive conversation between residents and elected officials, unfortunately, we felt shut down. We did not have a constructive conversation between elected officials and residents working toward creating a resolution speaking to the issues of hate and intolerance, two very real and troublesome realities in our society, and yes, even in Chatham Borough and Chatham Township. For example, the school system reports that as of February 21st, they had investigated 44 potential acts of harassment, intimidation, and bullying in the district, and that they expect the number of incidents this year to exceed that of last year. There were a total of 62 incidents in the 2016-2017 school year. The school system also confirmed more acts of HIB, which is the acronym, involving anti-Islamic or homophobic words and actions as of February 21st than were confirmed in those areas all of last year. According to the superintendent's newsletter, the schools have also had to address problematic behavior outside of HIB-related investigations this year, and I have his newsletter to submit. The proclamation is a wonderful statement speaking to the virtues of the township, but falls short in that it does not directly address intolerance or resonate as a welcoming statement. We would like the Township Committee to approve a resolution that Chatham Township is a welcoming community and does not tolerate any form of discrimination based on religion, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, familial status, national origin, physical or mental disability, or veteran status. A resolution that is both reaffirming of the township's welcoming nature and celebrates the diversity of our citizens and our tolerance for divergent views. While the personal mayor's proclamation stated some thoughts about a welcoming community and is a nice start, it was a proclamation, not a resolution, therefore not voted on by the entire Township Committee. It was not on the meeting agenda. Normally, my understanding is that proclamations are on the agenda. The proclamation was read prior to giving the public a chance to speak or engage with the Township Committee. The proclamation had much distracting information, which read like a resume for our real estate values or a re-election campaign rather than a simple statement about being a welcoming community and a community against hate and intolerance. The proclamation says, "It goes without saying that Chatham is a welcoming community, but we would like a resolution to say it directly And this logic of saying it directly is similar to the line of the very thinking by Mayor Ritter when he said that unpleasant issues like domestic violence and suicide are hidden in our community but must be acknowledged by saying they exist. And we thank you and applaud you because those are two very important and real things. We ask the Township Committee to practice common sense government and engage in a conversation with residents to understand what this is that we're asking for. We submitted a petition signed by 215 residents asking for this conversation. I've reached out to you, to the Township Committee on numerous times via email. November 14th, November 15th, December 1st, February 22nd, and March 14th. I've heard back from a couple of you, but not all of you, and the conversation was basically a dead end. You know, I quoted, in one of the emails I sent you, I quoted an article from Time magazine dated 11/29/16, and it states, research shows that potential perpetrators of hate crimes and bullying are actually quite conscious of the degree to which their community supports or condemns their actions. You, our elected officials and representatives of our township, have an obligation to reinforce that we, as a community, do not tolerate hate. So now, in late March of 2017, I again ask the committee to listen to us, to hear us, and to speak with us to pass a resolution that is, we're a welcoming committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
And when you get a chance, can you please get me a copy of that petition that you said was submitted that still hasn't been properly filed with me?
Jen McNally handed everyone a ballot.
She gave 5. She hasn't submitted one to me yet. I'm still waiting for that. Yeah.
I'll just make a brief comment and open it up to the rest of the committee as they deem appropriate. When this petition was circulating, it requested a statement proclaiming that our town is welcoming. I will apologize for being responsive, proactive, and listening to the request of residents, much as we've been proactive in our efforts to keep our community safe by the introduction of the Neighborhood Watch program, proactive in trying to revitalize the Colony Pool Club and develop a new marketing campaign to increase membership over the years, proactive in increasing communications in our community through the development and promotion of the new Act Now Community and Emergency Awareness Alert System, the redevelopment of the website, the launch of a community newsletter, the presence of the township on social media. That is what a local government does. They are proactive, they are responsive. I read your petition. I saw the request, requesting a statement proclaiming. There was no request for a resolution. I developed that proclamation as mayor. It is a mayoral proclamation. It contained language requested by those who submitted the petition. I will ask you, of all the towns you mentioned who passed resolutions, where are those resolutions displayed? Is it prominently displayed on their homepage of their websites? Has it been blown up to promote awareness in the lobby of their town halls? Or has it just been signed and filed away in the back files of the town hall? Here in Chatham, go to our homepage, chathamtownship-nj.gov. Front and center, we have it posted there. In our lobby, we have it posted there. Are all the words, is it exactly what you wanted in there? I'd say for the most part it is. I would also argue that we are doing more to promote the fact that Chatham Township is a welcoming community than other townships have done. I would also say that actions speak louder than words. Following last week's meeting, and the meeting 2 weeks ago, I actually reached out to Michael LaSousa, and I'd asked him if the Board of Ed had ever considered or hosted a World Cultures Day. with the thinking that perhaps, you know what, beyond a proclamation, beyond a resolution, which at the end of the day one could argue is just words, perhaps we as a community could do something that would bring greater awareness to the cultures throughout our community. This might be something we can host outside here by the municipal building one weekend, a festival of sorts. Perhaps we can partner with the borough and do something with Fish-A-Whack. These are the ideas I would propose. And this is what I say, actions speak louder than words. And I apologize if you think that I was not responsive or being proactive. I think my tenure on this committee as deputy mayor and as mayor of the past year and change has shown to you as residents that I have been proactive, I have been a supporter of the community, I have made efforts to improve our community. We talked of the volunteers tonight, we saw our first responders up here, true heroes of our community. I would also argue those of us here on the dais, those who at the Board of Education, they're also volunteers. Right now, Jen and Molly are at the Adams Family Play. Will and Grace, they're home, hopefully. We're going to the play tomorrow. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we as a family could collectively done this family event together? We can't, because I got a commitment tonight. My commitment is to my community and to all of you here. So when people come up and say these things and on social media, thinking that we don't care or I don't care, I take it personally. So I just want to reiterate, I am committed to the community, committed to our residents. Thank you. If anyone else would like to say anything?
I'd like to just say a few quick words, if I may.
Sure.
I want to say thank you to all those who came to the microphone tonight. I mean, I think that echoing Kurt's words, I think actions do speak louder than words, but I think words definitely count, definitely matter. And I think in that context, I ask myself, what would matter more here? A second set of words by the Township Committee, whether it's another proclamation or the resolution, worded slightly differently than what we already did, which I think did hit the key points that we wanted to hit about what we feel we stand for? Or would it count more to have a group of people come to the microphone and speak strongly about their feelings about the township and how welcoming it is? And in my mind, there's no question that the message that I feel that goes out more strongly is having several people, more than several people, coming to the microphone if they wish, and speaking their mind about the values that are important to the township. So thank you very much for doing that, and invitations to other people to do the same going forward. I think that one of the key components of being welcoming is to being understanding and being open to the idea of differences. And I think what I see is that all the towns around here that have responded positively, including Chatham Township, to the request for this kind of a welcoming action, have responded slightly differently. They've used different words. They've tried to hit the same message. But I would ask the people who feel disappointed to please be open to the idea that that part of being welcoming is to understand differences and be a little bit more understanding about the different approach that the township took. I think we're on the same page. We feel very strongly, the same as you, that we are a welcoming community, and we would hope that that message does come across, because I feel that that's our strong feeling of all the township committee members. So again, thank you for voicing your take on the strengths of Chatham Township.
Jane Devlin, Hickory Place, Chatham Township. I want to begin by certainly saying thank you for that apology. That really shows integrity and open-mindedness. Well, I was going to say no one is suggesting, but I don't want to speak for other people. I certainly am not suggesting you are not proactive in the many areas you listed, the act, the website, and many, many others, including doing your civic duty in the role when you chose to run for elected office. Maybe it was just different interpretations of semantics of what a welcoming proclamation is. I do not think still the message is coming across as it stands as strongly as the town's actions really are. The town is a welcoming community. There's many examples, but I do think, again, the words don't do justice to the actions, the good actions in this town, by the citizens, and by the dedicated elected officials in front of us tonight, and in other volunteers, such as Board of Ed. Actions do speak louder than words, but words in a day of social media and internet, etc., travel very fastly. There is no reason, if you did decide to reconsider and make a resolution, why that resolution couldn't be predominantly displayed on a poster board, on our website, and the many areas that the mayor just addressed. In fact, then you would be a leader amongst your peers of mayors from other towns and municipalities. I do not think necessarily there's two camps or sides of this. I just think communication has to, a dialogue has to continue in terms of listening, in terms of communication, and I think just more positivity can come out of it. I have always seen this township committee to be open to that. I've had the pleasure of interacting with many of you folks individually and some other volunteer capacities I do, and I have every faith that you want the same thing that the town is asking for in terms of a resolution and a little bit more concrete way to show other communities and the citizens here in Chatham that our words are as strong as our actions, and our words are backing our actions. In closing, I want to say these are opinions, these are suggestions, and none of this, at least on my part, should be interpreted, as I began my initial statement, in any way as displeasure, disrespect, or any kind of personal attack on anyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Kelly Doucette, Rolling Hill Drive in Chatham Township. I guess I just want to say I really meant what I said about the idea that discussion about this can be more positive and unifying than anything else. And I think the positive thing that can come out of it is that in these kinds of discussions, discussion about a multicultural day, which is wonderful. I'm actually hosting a multicultural potluck at my house at the end of April, which any of you are very warmly invited to. I think that any of those need to include a diverse group of your constituents to talk to and discuss with, and that the idea of the welcoming proclamation would have been much better received if it had been discussed in that sort of forum. I think the best thing that can come out of this is that we open up a dialogue between many people, and that is a really positive dialogue. I think all of us love living here, all of us love this as a town, and we just want our community to be stronger and more unified and understand each other better. I think there's one thing to have a diverse community that's living side by side. It's another thing for people to really be interacting and understanding and learning empathy and understanding of each other's backgrounds. And that's really the most important thing to me. And I did not mean to imply that you guys didn't want that, but I think it is something you have to work at. All of us have to work at. And I think it will only make us strong, more positive, and that is something I'd very much like to be involved in. I think New Providence has a diversity commission that they have that works on issues like this. There are places that give awards to cities for their efforts in diversity. I mean, all of those things would only make us a stronger place. And like I said, I'm happy. I'm here to help. I'm a problem solver. When I bring something up, I'm not just bringing it up to complain. I'm bringing it up because I want to help make things better. So that would be my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly.
Jessica Romeo, Pine Street, Chatham Township, and just, reiterating.
You didn't move in the last 5 minutes?
No, I haven't moved. I haven't moved, not yet. Just to reiterate what they're saying, or say in a different way. Karen, you had said when the Morris County folks were speaking, you said something, it was nice to be able to have input when so often government comes into our municipalities and our home and tells us what's happening. That's what this felt like. Instead of having a dialogue, which I think I've requested since November, having a dialogue, having a communication, having a dialogue with all of us living in this town, what's the best approach? Not just the mayor swooping in and saving the day by reading a proclamation, but having a really active conversation, an ongoing conversation. Washington Avenue School just had a huge multicultural day, a special events day. A group of us have done lots of things. Like Kelly said, she's doing a potluck at her home. I'm organizing one at Stanley Church to have the whole, invite both Chathams to a multicultural potluck. There are things happening. It would be nice if we could dialogue. Much like you guys were incredibly receptive to the Pilgrim Pipeline fight, which is still going on, and we were able to form a group of citizens to meet formally with Bob Gallup, he was our intermediary at the time, to go over ways that we were combating the Pilgrim Pipeline coming through our town. It would be nice to dialogue and work with you guys side by side. It doesn't feel like that's happening, and I think that's where a lot of this frustration is coming from. So, thank you for the stuff you've done in the past with us. I would encourage you to dialogue with community members and include them on this as well.
Thank you, Jessica.
Hi, Donna Lyons, Woodmont Drive in Chatham Township. And I have been sitting here observing, and what I've observed is a group of people up here who care passionately about Chatham Township, and a group of people here in the audience who also care passionately about Chatham Township. And it struck me that we're all sort of digging in our heels about something that we all kind of want the same thing here. So this might be a little repetitive, but to me, this is really cool that people who maybe never came to these meetings before are suddenly showing up because they care about something. And what do we have to lose by, instead of all of us digging in our heels and saying it has to be this way or it has to be that way, like the other women said when they came up here, can we find a way to just work together and dialogue and talk about what's really at the heart of this? What is, what spurred us to want this in the first place? I think we have to get to the root of it and talk about what can we do in Chatham to make sure that everyone feels welcome. And it might be the wording in a proclamation, but as you said, it might be other things as well. So I just wanted to come up and encourage us all to try to work together and welcome the whole community into the dialogue. And thank you so much for everything that you do. You clearly work hard, and we have a beautiful, wonderful town to live in. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no one else come before, we'll close this hearing of citizens and move now to the public hearing on the 2017 municipal budget. Tom, you want to lead us off?
I think, Mayor, just officially open the public hearing, see if there's anybody that has any questions or comments about the budget as it was introduced on March 9th? What day did we
March 9th.
introduce? March 9th.
No, it was
February 23rd, whatever.
I will open it up for hearing of citizens if anyone wants to discuss the
16th of February it was.
the budget.
For all of
proposal.
you who are leaving, this does affect your tax dollar.
We're going to find out how welcoming we are right now. Incredibly welcoming.
This is going to cost you money.
All right, we'll close out the hearing of citizens and related to the budget.
Okay, now that the hearing on the budget is closed, under normal circumstances, you would now be voting final adoption of the 17 budget. But as you'll recall, at the last meeting, we had a thorough discussion about the capital improvement plan for this year, and as a result of that discussion, a decision was made to accelerate our road paving program, and also a decision was made separately to leave the open space tax at 1/2 penny again for 2017, whereas I had prepared the budget in anticipation that it was going to be increased to 1 cent. The implication of that was that when you look at the capital budget, we're required to provide 5% down payment for bond ordinances. And I had anticipated that part of the capital budget was going to be an ordinance that would authorize an open space purchase that is still under review, and the estimate at this point was $1.8 million, requiring a $90,000 down payment. In the budget, when I put together what was presented initially, in anticipating the increase in the open space tax to 1 penny, anticipated taking the $90,000 down payment from the open space trust account. When the committee decided not to increase the open space tax to 1 cent, leaving it at 1/2 cent, in order to go forward with the possible purchase of that property we've discussed, it was necessary to add that $90,000 appropriation to the capital improvement fund. And then also in increasing the amount of money we were going to spend this year on road improvements, that also required additional money to be added to the capital improvement fund. So that, what I'm getting around to is asking you to formally approve an amendment to the budget that would increase the appropriation to the capital improvement fund to $166,500. That would represent 5% of the total amount that you see authorized or proposed in the 2017 capital budget. To offset that increase, we would use an additional $116,500 in surplus, bringing the total surplus used as a revenue to $3,216,500. And then there was one other minor thing that we've added, and that was a grant that was received. I believe it was the Body Armor Fund, Replacement Fund, for $2,184.17, which is offset. There's a revenue and an offsetting appropriation, so it doesn't affect the bottom line as far as the tax rate or anything goes. It's just, I said it's an offsetting revenue and appropriation. The other thing that happens when you start making adjustments to the surplus anticipated or to any other thing is that the reserve for uncollected taxes automatically adjusts by the formula that we use, and the amount to be raised by taxes also adjusts in just a tiny little bit. So those changes are all reflected in the resolution that you have in front of you now. That would amend the budget that was introduced on February 16th, and we would be looking then to do the public hearing and final adoption of the amended budget at the April 6th meeting is that in 2 weeks? So I tried to keep it short. I hope it's understandable. We did discuss it at the last meeting, so I know that the Township Committee understands. Hopefully the public will as well. And the resolution is available in the packets if anybody has any questions about it. Otherwise, I would ask for a motion to approve the resolution amending the budget.
I'd move that resolution 2017-02.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes.
And Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Next up is,
And if I may, the bottom line on the tax rate, the local municipal purpose tax rate still has no increase. We're at 0.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
once again, highlighting the fiscal discipline of the committee. Thank you, Tom, for your work on this. Next is Resolution 2017-073, self-examination of budget.
And just briefly, as you know, we are a subdivision of the state. We are subject to having our budget approved on a 3-year cycle. Every third year, we have to submit the budget to the Division of Local Government Services for their review and approval before you can adopt. On the years that we're not subject to state review, if we qualify for self-examination, we can do that. You can adopt the budget without the state having to approve it ahead of time. And we do qualify. The resolution lays out what the qualifying criteria are, and we do satisfy those, so we are eligible for self-examination, and this resolution simply states that we are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's just a required formality.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes?
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Consent agenda. Anybody have questions on the consent agenda before Greg reads it off?
I'd like to make one addition to the minutes on Resolution 75, if I may. In the portion about the discussion that the previous discussion on the topic we just discussed again on the budget, I'd like to add to the minutes the fact that Administrator Ciccarone stated that increasing the amount of surplus to be used above the original 3.1 million increases the odds that we will not replenish the surplus for next year.
Okay,
Such a naysayer.
talk to me tomorrow. Send me an email with what language
Type it
you
all out
wanted.
for him?
Will do.
Yeah.
Everyone all right with that? All right.
And I will make that amendment.
Tom will be wrong.
I can even say it again if you'd like, so you can have it in tonight's minutes too.
Say it. Say it out loud.
Greg, you want to read them off?
Tonight we have Resolution 2017-074, receipt of reports, 2017-075, approving meeting minutes, 2017-076, approving executive session minutes, 2017-077, temporary budget extension, 2017-078, releasing escrow balances, 2017-079, approving list of volunteers eligible for LoSAP, and 2017-080, refunding overpayment of taxes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. The next item up is discussion item for the vacation of the paper street. This is a topic that we discussed earlier this year, I believe?
At the end of last year.
End of last year.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the committee. My name is David Brady. I'm with the law firm of Brady & Corial in Morristown. The Mayor's correct. I was here in early December to address the committee regarding my client's request that the township vacate a portion of Chatham Street. At that time, the committee indicated that it was willing to move forward, but wanted a couple things to be done. First of all, there was a concern over any cost to the township. We've posted money as requested by the township in escrow so that it can be used to pay for advertising costs and engineering fees. So we've done that, and certainly if more is required, we can do that. We're hoping it stays low, though. And in fact, to that end, my office has drafted the appropriate ordinance, and also the appropriate agreement that goes with that ordinance, which will include recognition of the rights of the utilities to continue to use that portion that we asked to be vacated, and a restriction on subdivision of our client's property. We've provided that over to Mr. Cruz. The committee at that time indicated that I think it was called option number 3 was the one that the committee was interested in. Mr. Rutsky wanted some details, particularly with regard to the sewer lines in that area. That was updated and provided. And as I say, lastly, we have drafted an agreement that would that would go into the chain of title, restrict any subdivision of the Earl's property, so long as there was a requirement for a variance to get that restriction. Right now, it would require a variance if for some reason 50 years from now the township changed its ordinances and a variance wouldn't be required. We didn't prohibit that, but we certainly prohibited anything that would result in an application 5 or 10 years down the road for a variance. So at this point, we're hoping that the committee decides that it'll move forward with adoption of the resolution and recommend that it be put on for first reading and proceed from there.
No, Mr. Brady accurately described what had transpired at the beginning of December. I understand that Mr. Rushke has reviewed the plan and was satisfied with it. And I guess the only question is, are you settled on the option that you're going to have introduced as part of the ordinance? Or are we down just to that one option?
That was my recollection, and that's why we had that one worked on to show the utility easements, and that's the one that was included in my March 13th letter to the mayor and the committee.
Okay, so then the next step would be is to, if there's a consensus of the Township Committee, to have the ordinance finalized and ready for introduction at the next meeting, if that's the consensus, consistent with the terms that Mr. Brady has explained tonight.
Anyone in the committee have any questions, comments, concerns, consensus?
Well, I think the only concern that I really had before was the idea that there was a utility issue with the pump station in the back behind this property and at the end of Chatham Street, that, you know, heaven forbid you were going onto somebody's lawn when you weren't allowed to go onto somebody's lawn.
Right.
That being a necessity, obviously, the utility to help the town run.
Right. Yeah, we've provided for that and made it clear that all those rights continue and remain with the township or the utility agency.
Consensus?
I think it's a good solution.
All right.
Fine. Then an ordinance will be on.
On the docket next time?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up for hearing of citizens. Anyone else wants to come forward? Kathy? We'll close out the hearing of citizens, and we'll move on to executive session. Greg, if you want to read that resolution, please.
Resolution 2017-P-04, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from the discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event, when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13, the Township Committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Thank you, Greg. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.